Welcome to the 6th and final day of Bruticus Week. I am T, former 0607, and here we have Swindle, Blastoff, Onslaught, Brawl, and Vortex. I bet you're wondering why I broke down the entire figure to show you the individual robots. Well, I wanted to give you a bit of a size comparison to show you the difference between the sizes and how some of them could be bigger even though they really shouldn't be. For instance, Swindle and Brawl, Swindle and Brawl are both supposed to be legs, yet Swindle is the tallest of the Combaticons, even taller than Onslaught, which surprises me. Vortex is just a little bit of a head taller than Blastoff, and Onslaught is in the middle between all of them. It just shows you how much of a difference it became since the Generation 1 line. For instance, with the snap of my fingers, Swindle here is much different. I mean, of course, this is not the original Swindle from the Combaticon set. I'm using mwhaha, Rotor, Armor Hide. Oh, I don't know what this guy's name was. But this is from the Desert Camo Universe Ruination set. Not the Ruination that's coming out, that blows. Anyway, this guy is more streamlined, more bulky, and once again, with the snap of my fingers, you can see that the vehicle mode is really different. As you can see, the Swindle, who I'm going to call, his original mode was Jeep. Had an open top. Of course, the gun is reminiscent, it's still there, and it's got seats and everything, sure. But the Cybertronian mode is just way beyond what you would think that it should be and what it would be. I mean, sure, it's got the gun, but it is vastly different with the cow catchers right here on the front. I don't know how well you could have seen that in the original review, these cow catcher thingies. And just the big rugged tires, and just giving it a full 360. Back then, they were hollow as well, so I mean that's good rendition. It has exhaust pipes coming out everywhere, and this guy is just plain and just a Jeep. Well, that's Swindle's comparison. Here we are on to Blastoff. Blastoff is, again, vastly different from what you'd expect from what he was and what he should be. Sure, it's got the correct colors in a way. I mean, compared to the video game and the box art and what I've seen customs people do. Sure, it's a little bit off because these are supposed to be dark grayish. And the original character was more of a darker tone of the beige, brown, black. Yeah, you understand if you've seen the Fans Project Explorer. Way darker, way more black. Again, I'm using the Ruination, which is mwhaha, in the actual toy's name, but I'm going to just call him Blastoff for now. The only thing is that with this figure that's not very easily comparable is that the fists, or what would be the fists, are not pointy because of child safety laws. Look, they made it in G1. Kids didn't poke their eye out with that. It's soft rubber. It could have stayed. That's my little rant on that. But here, the side view. Here is a back view. Here is this side's view. And with a snap of the fingers, we can see that it's not as drastically different as Swindle's was. I mean, you see Space Shuttle here still. And what they did, which was I thought was very cool, they still kept the way that the guns go on the back here, just as they go on the sides. They put them right here, put portholes on what were the arms in the robot mode. One problem with this one, can't find another storage place for the minigun, so I just plugged it in the last thruster. Anyway, again, yeah, like I said, not as drastically different. Of course, this one doesn't have wheels, but you know, it's good for what it is, and I appreciate this figure, and I appreciate what they've done for it. Now, we're on to Vortex. And with Vortex here, it's a bit strange, because instead of the original colors that I see the Ruination, a desert camo for the Fall of Cybertron San Diego Comic-Con exclusive figure. Otherwise, the figure, downsized of course from his Generation 1 self, is vastly different. Of course, it doesn't have the propeller blades on the back, which I wish they would have put, but you know what, I'm glad that at least they made it a weapon. And it doesn't pop off as easily, and you can't really lose it, and that's pretty cool. Here is a side view. Here is a back view. This side's view. And now, back to the front. Now, what makes this cool, before I turn them into their helicopter modes, that chest piece thing follows suit right here, along with the way that the legs are the cockpit, which is something that I really like that they at least kept true, which shows that this was originally that, or vice versa, whichever you can think of. Anyway, on to their helicopter mode. And yet again, we see why it looks like the Fall of Cybertron figure was based off of the Desert Camo Ruination figure. The colors match up kind of well. The red and the gold and the yellow and the black. It's kind of dead on. But what makes them different? Black propeller versus red propeller, but what are you going to do? Again, the colors are switched for the guns. The black gun for the Fall of Cybertron and the red for the Ruination. A bit strange. The only thing that is different about the Fall of Cybertron figure versus the original Vortex figure is that the original one had Gatling guns. This one has swords. So, it's a small price to pay for a good figure. Of course, it doesn't have a tail rotor as well. And we can see why he looks like a bug. This guy kind of looks like a square-eyed bug, if you ask me. Here's a side shot of the figures. And I put the port down so it would stand up a little bit better so you could see it better, but falling on its butt. Rear view. Not really much to see from the rear. And now, finally, we're going to be on to Brawl. Of course, it doesn't have a tail rotor as well. And we can see why he looks like a bug. This guy kind of looks like a square-eyed bug, if you ask me. Here's a side shot of the figures. And I put the port down so it would stand up a little bit better so you could see it better, but falling on its butt. Rear view. Not really much to see from the rear. And now we're going to be on to Brawl. Brawl versus the original. You think something's wrong here? Yeah. Beefy legs, beefy chest, beefy arms. Lanky legs, somewhat beefy arms, and somewhat of a small chest. I think out of all of these, it doesn't, I'm not saying it doesn't stay the most true, but when it comes to Cybertron and Tank and what they did and what they thought of, I even have to say that the original one would have been a better figure. Sure, we got more articulation, but at what price? He's the one that suffers most out of the whole set for the San Diego Comic-Con exclusives. of course, sorry about that. Of course, we still have the problem. Oh, proved me wrong. There we go. One little touch and he falls. Now I'm trying to fix the feet after this video. But I'm just trying to show you that even still I'm having trouble trying to make him stand. And there we go. Which is why I can't really show you a... Well, let me just try to show you a back view. Where's the figures? Major differences there. Other than the hollowness, which... it's alright. You know, I can forgive that because it was also originally on the original figure. But, yeah. Turning them back around to the front. Let's not waste any more time. Vehicle mode. Well, that was awkward. Anyway, we're on to Brawl and their tank modes. I can see what they decided to go with instead of using the single turret. They used the double and basically took this whole piece off in the front and kept this, because that mini gun also plugs into the double barrel thing, though it doesn't rotate. It does look a little bit more menacing though, if you ask me. If it's got a huge double turret just staring at you in the face, even though it's, yeah, it's a paperweight. That's pretty much what it is. Again, I'm just disappointed in this figure out of them all. I can't express that enough. But anyway, here's a rear view. And here is a side view of the figures. Now we are on to Onslaught. And the most drastically changed of figures in my mind. Onslaught. You see something a little bit odd here? The Generation 1 figure is actually taller than the deluxe figure, which shows you how much money we are paying for deluxes nowadays and how little we're getting. Just like, no, even before this, it was, sure, it was Energon. Oh. Well, I guess Generation 1 figures were just bigger back then. Anyway, I just proved my point wrong. Well, again, he's the taller in Generation 1 standards. And this one, he is one of the smallest. Which is kind of odd, if you ask me. If you're going to ask for more proportion for the figures, I would have made this one, the deluxe, and the rest of them like scouts or something. At least a little bit smaller. Especially Blast Off in his arm mode. But, of course, this has more articulation. Let me just fix the leg. He has more articulation, but yeah, one of the most hollow. And sure, this one doesn't store all the parts, but it tries. Sure, I don't want Bruticus' head to be sticking out like that, nor his waist piece, but geez, come on, at least try a little bit better. Okay, finally, we're on to their vehicle modes. Yeah, you obviously see the difference right away. This small little thing is supposed to turn into this long carrier which can hold himself. Onslaughtception. Okay, that's a really bad joke used many times, but what they did try to do was they tried to put the cannons on top, which is really the only thing distinguishing them both apart other than the name. I mean, honestly, you're not going to see, like, friggin' 10 wheels, the 4 wheels go to 10. You don't. And, I mean, this one's even heavier. This one's so light. I love his robot mode. His vehicle mode is just up to interpretation. So, there's no point in showing other views of this. Let's get on to the final group shot of the Combaticons in their vehicle mode. And finally, here is the final shot of the figures in their vehicle mode. Wait. You know what? I think I'm going a little bit crazy here. I said Bruticus week, didn't I? This is only day 6. I certainly love to be a tease, especially since the video is pretty much 16 minutes long anyway, and I don't think you're going to have to sit through all that, going through all the combinations and everything. You know what? I'm going to save the big bad boy for tomorrow to keep you guys in suspense. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and favorite this video. This is T40607 saying, once again, I love to be a tease.